The following program is the work of the broadcast students of the British Columbia Institute of Technology. BCIT Magazine features news stories from around the Lower Mainland which were produced over the last week. Responsibility for the content of the show rests completely with the students and their instructors.
Coming up on BCIT Magazine, a proposed bike lane is receiving mixed opinions on Commercial Drive.
The Children's Hearing Center of BC faces budget cuts.
And we find out why texting is causing a rise in thumb injuries.
Hello and welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Frances Lee.
And I'm Steve Zhang.
This week, the wildfire in Fort McMurray continues to burn, destroying whole neighborhoods and businesses. These images were sent to BCIT News by residents fleeing the fire. Evacuation orders have spread to communities south of the city.
A Commercial Drive resident wants to make his street more cyclist-friendly, but not everyone is on board. Gino Kutri finds out why a proposed bike lane has people divided.
Some businesses don't want to see bike lanes on the drive. Federico Folco has owned a restaurant on Commercial for 18 years and strongly disagrees with the proposal.
They want to put a bike lane from 13th to 1st Avenue. Well, it's a bike lane to nowhere. It makes absolutely no sense to waste the taxpayers' money on a bike lane.
Folco notes there are already bike lanes on Woodland and Lakewood running parallel to Commercial on either side. Alex Toon brought the bike lane proposal forward. He thinks they'll have a positive impact.
Research from everywhere has shown that not only do bike lanes support the current level of shopping and dining on a commercial street, but it increases that. Sales increase when a bike lane goes in. Why? Because you have more people who are able to access it. People who now don't want to come to Commercial Drive because it's frankly not safe. It's only safe for cars.
Toom's group, Streets for Everyone, points to Richard Street in downtown Vancouver as a good model for what's being proposed on Commercial Drive. Here on Richard Street downtown, you can see the bike lanes protected by parked cars. So you don't lose parking and the bikes have a barrier to protect them. This is what Streets for Everyone hopes Commercial Drive can turn into. For now though, cyclists will still have to take precautions when riding on the drive. Gino Kutri in Vancouver for BCIT Magazine.
Our reporter Gino Kutri joins us live. Gino, does the city have a timeline for addressing the proposal?
Well, there's no set plan just yet. The city says it will be moving forward with further consultation. Now, for the residents who are in favor of the proposal, they want to see it done as soon as possible because it is a safety issue. A Commercial Drive is a fourth-ward street in Vancouver for cyclists being hit by car doors. Back to you.
A UBC student has developed an app to help detect and report the mislabeling of seafood products. My co-anchor Steve Zhang has more on this development in the fisheries industry.
This young coho salmon may be lucky enough to live its life in a tank, but the same can't be said for some of its fellow fish elsewhere. Kyle Gillespie of Project Seahorse at UBC helped develop an app to show consumers what the fish they're eating really is.
What essentially we did, my colleagues and I, was take on this issue surrounding seafood mislabeling and seafood fraud. And of course, that's a really big international issue.
It's called red herring, something deliberately misleading or distracting. The app is designed to allow consumers and members of the fishery supply chain to find and report fraud.
When someone picks up a fillet and types in what the label says, something will pop up on their screen and say, this is a fish that is frequently mislabeled, or this is a fish that's infrequently mislabeled.
According to Gillespie, 90% of seafood consumed by North Americans is imported. Often in overseas fisheries, less desirable species like sailfish are mislabeled as something more valuable, such as striped marlin.
The problems of mislabeling
Loren Schiller is a researcher with OceanWise based at the Vancouver Aquarium. She hopes technology will see growing use in the fight against fisheries fraud.
I like the idea that we're connecting scientists and more ecological problems to the people who have the skills to try and answer them in a real-time, realistic way.
Schiller says frequently mislabeled species include rockfish, jellyfish, and surprisingly, coho salmon.
If you go in somewhere and it just says, you know, salmon, well, ask what kind of salmon that is, ask where it's from. If they can't give you the answers, then maybe choose something different for dinner.
I think the onus is on us now to actually use technology and use the resources that we have to actually do something about it.
Red herring is still in its early development stages, but Gillespie hopes it will be picked up by fisheries officials and consumers soon. Steve Zhang in Vancouver for BCIT Magazine. A recent study suggests more than half of BC residents are intimidated by working out at the gym. Our reporter Amy Quinton met with gym members at BCIT who faced and overcame these challenges.
This environment is intimidating to 40% of Canadians. A recent online study by Ipsos showed British Columbians had the highest level of intimidation at 51%, and women were consistently more fearful than men. Top reasons cited by respondents were lack of knowledge, not knowing anyone, or the fear of being watched by others.
When I first started, I needed to lose a lot of weight still, so every single time I would come in, I definitely felt like people were looking at me and had to try really hard to pay attention to what I was doing and try not to get in anybody's way.
BCIT trainer Ty Embry recently returned from working in Australia and notices a big difference in the gym culture here.
I think in North America, the culture is very image-based, so people feel this pressure to look good as opposed to being healthy and being active and using their body in an athletic way.
Taylor Wapple felt gym intimidation before making a commitment to get in shape.
I think a huge portion of it is worrying that you're going to show up and everybody will look at you when you're at a point in your life where you don't really want to be noticed. And realistically, most people are coming to the gym to focus on themselves, are not coming here to look at other people or to critique them. I'm coming here to better myself.
10 months later and 30 pounds lighter, she not only works out at the gym, she works there and offers advice for the cautious.
Just don't put it off forever. Realistically, if you're feeling intimidated, the only way to fix that is to actually get in a gym and try it, face your fears, and just go for it.
Taylor hopes her story will inspire others to take the leap into fitness. Amy Quinton in Burnaby for BCIT Magazine.
The Children's Hearing and Speech Centre of BC is facing major cuts to their funding. Radhika Sikakane finds out how the group is coping with the changes.
A circle of children, most of them with hearing loss, starting the day with music. Alice is chosen to bang the drums.
She got her hearing aids when she was 3 months old, and at that time we started coming once a week for a one-on-one session with a teacher of the deaf and hard of hearing. And today she's 3 years old and she's a student in the preschool program.
Kids at this center are learning to experience life by listening with their hearing devices to the sounds around them. The staff say that budget cuts won't stop the work they're doing.
We've lost almost half of our funding, for the children under 5. It's very difficult. It raises the question of having to do more fundraising, which is not easy.
The center has given a new type of hope for parents like Andrea Manchin and the future of Alice.
They taught us a lot as parents, but they're the experts, so we're really happy that they're able to provide that support even when we transition out of the center.
People have said to me, wow, what are you going to do? What are you going to cut because of the cut in funding? I look at it and I say, every single thing that we do here is essential. If we're going to fulfill our mission to help prepare these children for readiness and confidence and getting out there and making a difference in the world.
The center now has to rely on fundraising and tuition to make up for the cuts. As for Alice, she hopes to succeed at community preschool next year. Radhika Sikakane in Vancouver for BCIT Magazine.
Coming up after the break, a symphony orchestra offers unique opportunities to musicians.
And local residents foster hives to save the bees.
I chose BCIT because I know that all the programs are very hands-on. We have our own radio station. Like it's one of the best programs that I've ever heard of.
I am starting a job on Monday, so confidence is high.
Honestly, I didn't think it was going to be this fun.
A defining moment for me was when I finished my first internship and got lots of really great feedback from industry professionals.
I would have never imagined I'd be walking into the floors of TSN and thinking, I'm not a student anymore, I'm here to work.
I will be starting a job with an investigative news program in Toronto, and I'm really excited to see that grow into what will become, hopefully, my dream job.
BCIT Broadcast and Online Journalism, putting you to work.
The Vancouver School Board is considering cutting band programs as a result of a massive budget shortfall. A community symphony orchestra hopes students will join their program as an alternative. Anissa Hetherington has more.
Former music teacher and current symphony and choir director, Tom Kuo, grew up playing in schools.
In school, even though they offer a lot of music programs, there's no school that offers a symphony orchestra. We felt to be unique in that we are offering a symphony orchestra rather than just a string orchestra or a band.
Pops performer and grade 11 student Rachel Wong agrees.
It's still really important because if I didn't have it, I would have never started the cello, and it's a good way to make little kids start a new instrument.
6 years ago, Kuo founded the nonprofit recreational Vancouver Pops Symphony and Choir to offer more development and a modern repertoire to students.
We're here at the right time so that we can offer something that is still very affordable for children and young adults to be participating in music, even though the schools may not offer it anymore.
Rachel joined the Pops Symphony and is now a new member of the choir.
I guess I love learning new skills, and music is really easy for you to see like your progress in. Music, you can actually relax while you're doing it, and I don't know, it's just, yeah, it's fun.
Vancouver Pops is a viable alternative for budding musicians.
Hearing that the budget cuts are affecting the musical arts, definitely that is a loss to this area of child development.
The Vancouver School Board voted 5-4 against the proposed budget that did see cuts to the band and strings programs. Now the next step moving forward is to meet with Education Minister Mike Bernier in hopes of tabling a balanced budget by the June deadline. I'm Anissa Hetherington in Vancouver for BCIT Magazine.
Our reporter Anissa Hetherington is live with an update. Anissa, what's the latest on the Vancouver School Board meetings?
Well, the Education Minister and Vancouver School Board Chairman Mike Lombardi, they came out of the meeting saying that overall it was very positive and generally productive.
Is there a solution in the near future?
Lombardi says there is no set solution, but they are hoping that staff will be able to bring some new ideas to the table in time for next week's meeting. Now, the last time that a budget was rejected was in 1985, and the school trustees ended up losing their jobs. So hopefully that can be avoided. Back to you.
A Vancouver green tech business owner is advocating for solar energy to reduce carbon emissions. Kyle Benning has more on the changing structures of clean energy.
JM Toriel has to charge his electric car only once every few days. He uses the charging port his company, Big Green Island, installed, which runs from energy collected by solar panels on the roof of his home.
Given that I drive an electric car, it's just that much more cleaner that I'm taking out the tailpipe from the car and also not emitting anything into the air from getting power from electricity.
There are 90 solar panels installed on the roof of the co-housing complex, which gives residents a lower hydro bill for all 31 units and common areas. The cost for an average family home to install solar panels is around $20,000. even though the average savings are close to $500 per year.
They're excited about the technology and they want to try out the technology, or they have just a more long-term perspective. So over the lifetime of the system, it's going to pay for itself. It's just not going to pay for itself in the first few years.
Toriel has noticed his business has improved over the last few years and says when people make a change, they try and change their entire lifestyle.
They get rid of the tailpipe, and then the next thing they want to do is put PV solar on the roof because they want to get off fossil fuels altogether.
As well as getting off of fossil fuels, Toriel says he is saving close to $2,000 a year and reducing his carbon footprint by 80%. Kyle Benning in Vancouver for BCIT Magazine.
After 5 years of nurturing, BCIT's Cherry Tree Rescue Program has come to its conclusion with a tree sale here on campus. Nicole Aud has more on why 200 people lined up to take home a piece of Vancouver history.
They came early, and before long, this line stretched further than the eye could see. All for the chance to buy one of 400 rare cherry tree saplings. But these aren't just any cherry trees. They are the result of 5 years of hard work inside a BCIT lab and a bit of Vancouver history.
The background behind the cherry trees coming to Vancouver, originally, at least the ones from Japan, was that Japanese soldiers were serving in World War I, which was news to me. It was quite surprising. And in honor of those soldiers, they donated the flowering cherry trees to the city of Vancouver.
The ancestors of these little trees have died off due to age and urban expansion. Turner, along with his biotechnology students, took buds from the remaining trees and painstakingly grew them into foot-tall seedlings to preserve the region's cherry tree diversity.
The students were keen on it, they jumped in on it, and they did a lot of extra work to get this project done.
The history of the trees and the work done to save them are an added attraction.
It's got a story to it, and I like it, and people can say nice tree, and I can say, well, it's got a little story to it too.
It took under 2 hours to sell all the trees. They will be planted across the Lower Mainland, replenishing the cherry tree population. Nicole Aud in Burnaby for BCIT Magazine.
A Langley man is turning to his neighbors in the fight to save declining bee populations. Luisa Alvarez met up with the bee whisperer to learn more.
Art Barker started bringing bees to his yard to help pollinate these blueberry bushes, but quickly realized there was more he could do.
They're just going away, they're dying out. Put a beehive in someone's backyard, their flowers and any fruits and veggies in the area are going to be more pollinated. If they're more pollinated, there's going to be more fruit.
Declining bee populations due to pesticide use is devastating for the ecosystem. Bees like these are responsible for pollinating a third of our food supply.
Vancouver's banned most pesticides, which are bees' #1 killer, making Vancouver a perfect place to plant the hives.
Barker's Sponsor a Hive program allows people to be a proactive part of the solution. He installs a hive like this one in backyards around Vancouver. The bees then work and pollinate within a 2-kilometer radius. Frank Ferrucci has participated in Sponsor a Hive for the past 5 years, and he says it's been a fight for the bees' survival.
They had a really good year last year, but the year before was dismal. Production was down. The overall hive, the health of the hive was questionable. And I noticed even like the year before, there was hardly any kind of wild types of bees. I've only been stung one time, like right in the tip of my nose.
To sponsor a hive for a season, it can range anywhere from $200 to $400. To make this a realistic solution for everyone and help the cost to maintain it, Ferrucci thinks a collaborative effort between neighbors could be the answer.
Do it as a co-op, like if people like in a neighborhood that were gardeners got together and did it. That might be something that would work.
The sponsorship program benefits the bees with a home filled with flowers to pollinate, while the sponsor gets to reap the sweet reward of honey made right in their backyard. Luisa Alvarez in Langley for BCIT Magazine.
Coming up after the break, a retired UFC fighter trains the next generation for the octagon.
And a BC Lions cheerleader keeps up her spirit while fighting cancer.
The most rewarding thing for me has been the relationships I developed in the program, both with instructors and classmates.
My sense of confidence has never been higher. I mean, this program's offered great opportunities to be in real world, real industry situations, and being in those moments and knowing I can contribute, I can do this.
It's exciting to be in this industry and to meet lots of great people and to make amazing friends.
BCIT Broadcast and Online Journalism, realizing your potential.
Standby graphics, ready camera one.
If you want to experience the fast-paced world of news,
today on BCIT Magazine, striking,
make magic on a movie set,
frame,
and action, or bring your creative ideas to life, BCIT's hands-on training will get you started. BCIT Television and Video Production. Your possibilities start here.
Local physiotherapists are seeing an increasing number of patients with thumb injuries. The reason? Cell phones. Our reporter Megan Friesen has more.
Physiotherapists are giving a thumbs down to texting. In the last year, more and more people are seeking professional care to treat injuries related to phone use.
Texting thumb is a repetitive stress injury, so you're repetitively moving the thumb in extension and abduction, and especially with the larger phones, you're having to do even a larger movement. So when you're doing that more and more often, what happens is you sort of doing little micro tears through those tendons.
There is a simple way to find out if you have this injury.
So what you want to do is you get the person to grasp their thumb, so you're going to grasp your thumb there, and then you put your wrist into this position here. So this is your pinky side. You want to bring your wrist over to the pinky side. And then what someone who has Tourniquet veins or texting thumb will typically feel is strain and pain along this area here.
This texting thumb injury can be prevented.
Now, what you want to do too is avoid any aggravating activities. So activities such as holding your phone, holding it for long periods of time, and texting large sentences, for example.
This injury is becoming more common, but BCIT students knew little of it.
I haven't heard much about it. It sounds kind of scary, like it could be painful.
It's quite a weird thing that happens, like when you're trying to text too much, your fingers start hurting.
Texting thumb? Nothing.
Large cell phones are the #1 reason for thumb injuries. Something to consider the next time you purchase a new phone. Megan Friesen in Burnaby, BCIT Magazine.
Former MMA fighter Lance Gibson is back in the octagon, but this time it's to train his son. Christy Madden has the story.
A family that fights together stays together. And Lance Gibson and his son, Lance Jr., live by that saying every day. Since retiring from MMA and UFC, Lance now trains his family, who are landing big punches in the sport.
One of the things I'm most proud of, and just to see that he was better than I was. So to see what he is now is it's what I thought of 20 years ago when I opened the gym, how the sport was going to evolve. Never did I think that he would be doing the things that they do now, and he's even ahead of the game now. So it's phenomenal.
Lance Jr. has already won a championship. He says his father is his greatest mentor.
No matter how much I think I learn, I feel like I learn something new every single time I spar him. He's fast. He's got speed. He's every quality you need that as a mixed martial artist he's got. So I learn a lot from him, you know.
Lance Jr. uses the opportunity to share his passion and skills with others.
It feels good being able to teach people, train, and just all that all together. It's great.
I know when I leave, I can leave the business in my family's hands.
Lance Sr. is confident that his son will carry the business and the love of the sport forward in ways that he never dreamed of. I'm Christy Madden in Port Moody for BCIT Magazine.
A BC Lions cheerleader is preparing for the upcoming season, despite her ongoing fight with cancer. Our reporter Falaki Adisuba learns how her friends are rallying to support her.
A cheerleader can't be a cheerleader without sparkles.
Mary is a BC Lions cheerleader battling metastatic ovarian cancer.
I'm gonna need to have the tubes put externally. That made me very sad. But it is what it is.
Despite the difficulties Mary is facing, she remains committed to her duties as a part of the Lions team.
Every 16 to 21 days, I have to go through chemotherapy. The chemo they use in me it's a little bit stronger than other ones. I lost all my hair, so underneath this hair, I'm bald, and I also lost my eyelashes, and I'm losing my eyebrows now. So I do a little bit of the trick with makeup, and obviously having mom by my side, it would be very encouraging because she always knows what to tell me. And she went through cancer herself just last year, so nobody more than her will understand what I'm going through.
Over $1,000 has been raised in 9 days, which is 54% of the minimum goal set at $2,000. Alex Toyka and friends are also hosting a fundraiser dance showcase for Mary.
When you're kind of in that mind frame, I think it's hard to ask for help yourself, and we saw her need. And so as her friends and as, you know, someone who really cares about her, we wanted to be there in order to assist her doing that.
She was in the hospital for 3 weeks and got out the night before, went to a Felines calendar shoot, and then right after that came and shot with me. So I thought, wow, that's just incredible, what commitment.
Mary continues to remain positive and hopes her family can be by her side soon. Until then, she continues to fight one chair at a time. Falaki Adisuba in Burnaby for BCIT Magazine.
I'm Frances Lee.
And I'm Steve Zhang. That's today's BCIT Magazine. Thanks for watching. We leave you with compelling footage of the Fort McMurray wildfire, courtesy of Jason Edmondson, showing his escape.
Thank you.